up and running. Our microphones are working good today. All right. So we got some ingredients out here. We have some tools out here. We have some of our stuff out here. Okay. A lot of the stuff that I have used previously for making soil blocks. All right. We have a couple different soil blockers out here. We have the Swift blocker, which this is the soil block that makes the most soil blocks, but I'm not a fan. Not a fan. All right. We can definitely get better on the innovation side of that soil blocker. And then we have my rusty, tried and true soil blocker right here. It's a 2-inch soil blocker. I forgot the name of the brand, man. But I'm not here to promote brands, so it doesn't even matter. But it's a 2-inch soil blocker right here. It definitely could use some WD-40. Okay. But yeah, now we got a good soil blocking video today. Let me know. Can y'all hear me or no? Let me know. Can you hear me or no? If you can hear me good, we're definitely going to continue to proceed. If you cannot hear me, then we'll start this over. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat so we can get this video going for sure. All right. So we have some ingredients here. Okay. And we have maybe about 15 trays of soil blocks from last year, actually. We have some perlite right here. We have some soil, and we have some leftover soil blocks that has perlite, some coconut coir, a few different ingredients. We did a little bit of experimenting last year. All right, some sphagnum moss, soil blocks, and everything was good. All right, yes, you can hear me. Okay, what's going on, Zach? I appreciate you. Growing Together Home and Garden, I appreciate you for tuning in. All right, so I'm just going to show you my method for how I've been making soil blocks for years now, and it's been working real good. I've been getting plenty of success, and right now, I'm going to add in the remnants of what was soil blocks last year, because my soil blocks tend to hold up over time, and I'll reuse the soil. So why not reuse them instead of just keep having to buy new soil every time? So right now I'm about to dump a bunch of my old soil blocks, and you can see they held up. I left these outside all winter long, so all seasons from fall, winter until now. My soil blocks are real good. These held up, as you can see. Just a little close up. My soil blocks hold up through the weather. So I make them in a way that they hold up real good, man. And this is not covered. I don't have a covered greenhouse anymore. So my little budget greenhouse that I had previous years ago has since broken down, and it's just a skeleton of a greenhouse now. So right now I'm cleaning off the soil blocks and the soil block trays. These are cafeteria lunch trays, in case anybody wants to know. These are not special trays that I order for soil blocks. And I'm gonna put this one to the side. This is my Swift blocker. It's a soil blocker that I bought last year. I'm not a fan of. It's a 72 block soil blocker, but I'm sticking with the 8 because I don't like how that is. They need to work on the innovation. There's a design flaw with that Swift blocker, at least that version right there that I bought, and it was expensive, man. It was maybe close to $300 for that soil blocker, and I'm not a fan. But yeah, let's empty these cafeteria trays in here, and I'm going to reuse the markers for marking what I have. All right, I mean, granted it's marked with permanent marker, but I'm going to use the other side, and we're going to reuse that. All right, so I have a bunch of new soil too. So I have plenty of new soil right here, all right, for making soil blocks with, but we're going to go to using the old batches from last year, and then when I don't have any more soil for making soil blocks, then we'll get to the new stuff. But we must rinse and repeat. We must reduce, reuse, recycle, all that good stuff. All right, and even though I'm not using the soil blocker or the Swift blocker right here, I'm not using the Swift blocker, I'm still going to use the trays that I bought with it. So I bought extra trays with the Swift blocker. And if anybody is wondering or planned on making soil blocks and you were thinking about ordering that Swift blocker right there, I'm not a fan. Not that Swift blocker 72, man. Not that version. I can't speak for any other versions, but I'm not a fan of that one right there, okay? All right, so I made a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff in the ground. Our fruit trees are doing amazing. Everything is alive. Everything survived. All right, our shrubs are in the ground and they're growing amazing. Our blueberries just finished flowering, so they're starting to fruit. We have currants in the ground. The currants are flowering. They just finished flowering. I don't know if anybody has ever grown currants. If you know anything about currants, put it in the chat. All right, this is my first year that I'm going to probably get currants to actually fruit. I put them in the ground last summer, maybe summer, spring. All right, and the fruit fell off. And that usually happens with the fruit trees and fruit shrubs first year. All right, so because I tend to fan out the roots and make sure the roots are not root bound, all right, they're not girdling roots, all right, that I'm putting in and setting myself up for failure. So I fan them out, and the tree or shrub is more focused on just surviving and getting used to its environment versus trying to produce fruit. So a lot of times when I get a new fruit tree or shrub, the fruit falls off the first year. Second year, we tend to get fruit production if we were already bound for fruit production the first year. All right, so okay, we have enough. It looks like we have enough growing medium right here for the first round, and we got a nice stack of cafeteria trays here, and we're going to get started. So let me just make sure nobody has any comments before I break this down. And we're going to bust up all these soil blocks, and we're going to make new soil blocks out of this right here. So I'm going to hit this with the water. My preference, don't knock me for my preference. My preference is I add in coconut coir, my growing medium, whether it's fresh potting soil, potting mix, fresh garden soil, or whether it's going to be like a sphagnum moss. Now, I tried the sphagnum moss for the first time last year. It worked. It's okay, but it's not my favorite. All right, it's not going to be my go-to. I still have plenty of sphagnum moss, and I'll use it for certain things, but it's not going to be my go-to. My go-to is a good potting mix, actually, for my soil blocks, a good potting mix. And I'll tell you why. If you're interested, I'll tell you why. Let me make sure we don't have no comments. All right, I don't have my laptop out here right now, so I can't see comments in real time. All right, so let's get it going. Let's get it going. Let's get it growing. All right. If anybody wondering, let's get a little closer view here of what we got going on. If we can get a little better view here, okay? So we're not gonna focus this on me the whole time. Just want to see what I got going on, okay? Hopefully y'all can see good right there. All right. So now I'm breaking these old soil blocks down right here. All right. So a lot of people are not really going to be hip to this. You know, people maybe tend to, just want to put this stuff directly in the ground. They're not sure where to start. You know, you're new to gardening. Soil blocks is a game changer. This was a game changer for me. I started growing food in 2019. My wife and I bought this property, and I had to really get used to a different lifestyle and just the idea of growing my own food. All right. But along my journey, I started in growing in grow bags. I started in growing in pots. Started growing in raised beds above the soil level. And then I started growing in raised beds that were like elevated to like almost like my stomach height, to where I didn't have to bend down. And I was like, okay, this is convenient. And then I made that leap of faith. I started watching a lot of videos on soil health. I started learning about the back to Eden garden method and just rejuvenating the soil, because my wife and I, we had a property, or we have a property that did have a lot of just depleted soil, uncovered soil, red clay dirt, and man, this wasn't a good ground, a good nutrient rich ground for growing food in. So we really had to like start over and go back to the drawing board and just try to understand what it takes to grow healthy food. And now we're not only growing in a sustainable way, we're growing in a way that rejuvenates the soil and growing medium. So we're giving back to the soil, and then the soil gives back to us like tenfold. I can't even really measure how much the soil gives back to us. So we're really big on a zero waste uh, system here. And I'm just breaking down the rest of these soil blocks, but yeah, we're big on like a zero waste system here. So we don't really throw anything away. We're not tossing stuff. We're not, if we burn stuff, and you might be able to see some of the wood behind me. All right. I do like burning wood, cooking outside and stuff like that. And just even the ashes from burning stuff and cooking, we throw back in the soil because it's nutrients and I think it's potassium and just a bunch of stuff that it just gives back to the soil. All right. You'd be surprised how much your leavings, your waste, the stuff that you don't want, your vegetable scraps, you'd be surprised how much that adds and does in adding nutrients for your food. And it just comes full circle. So I just want to be able to impress upon people, life is really full circle. And once you start getting in tune with your food, your vegetables, fruit, whatever, and just your growing medium and just how everything works in sync and just like a symmetry or a synergy. Like it just works full circle and everything helps the next thing. One thing helps the next thing and it all flows. And once you start to understand that, you're like, wow, I really don't have to work that hard. Once you start understanding, it becomes real easy. And a lot of people that I talk to that like want to grow and have the idea of growing their own food, they're so overwhelmed and just don't know where to start. And I'm just like, for me, it's so easy to do it that it's like the conversation is almost a little bit difficult to really translate that it's as easy as you make it. All right. So right now I broke down all the soil blocks and I have a lot of the stuff that I want to have in here. And you can see all the white and the brown and so on and so forth. I have a lot of stuff that I want. So really, I'm just going to add some water in here and see how the soil blocks come out. Because this is mostly soil, some perlite, some coconut coir, but I have some sphagnum moss in here. So I just want to see how our first few blocks of soil blocks come out, and then I'll amend and adjust from there because I'm good at eyeballing it right now because I've been doing this for years now. So let's get going. I got a bucket here of water and let's go in. All right. Hi, brother. Okay. What's going on? All right. Growing together. All right. Mr. Caleb or no, Mr. One Cabbage. I appreciate you for tuning in. All right. We got some water going in. We're making soil blocks here. Let's add a little bit of water. And right here, we don't want to go too hard, too fast because this is super dry. So it's going to take a lot of just moving it around and prodding for that water to really absorb initially because it's so dry. Once that water starts to absorb a little bit, then you can add it in and it's going to absorb super fast. But right now, because this has been dry, essentially since fall last year, it's going to really take some mixing and it's got to really just be careful, work its way in, and just, I don't know if you can see all that dirt and dust flying in the air. Just try not to huff that in. But yeah, just keep working it soil, mixing it slow, add in more water little by little. Don't go too much, too fast. Let's add in some more. All right, not too much, too fast. But we are going to need a lot of water. So I know that what I just put in there is not too much. All right. And just keep working the soil little by little, slowly. And once it starts working its way in real good, we're not going to get that dust anymore. All right. And we're just working that. And how do you know when you're ready to make soil blocks? Because you're going to be able to take a handful and take it and squeeze it, and you're going to be able to squeeze water out. All right. You want to be able to squeeze some level of moisture out. It doesn't have to be a whole lake, but you want to be able to squeeze some moisture out, almost like you're squeezing out a wet sponge, so to speak. All right, but just keep mixing in that moisture, hitting those dry pockets, loosening up those dry pockets, and getting everything nice and moist. Okay, this is feeling good. It's starting to look really good. We're starting to, I could take this and dump it, and we're not getting that dust, that field of dust looking like a dust storm anymore. Okay, we're getting somewhere. We're definitely gonna need some more water because it's a lot more dry in this area over here, but we're definitely getting somewhere. So let's add in some more water here. Added in a little bit too fast, but it's definitely not too much. I just added in a little too fast there. Okay. All right, let's keep it mixing. Nice and slow, nice and easy. We don't want to make a mess of this, but this will still be messy regardless. We're not going to get around this being a little bit messy. We're essentially making mud pies. Formed or formulated mud pies right here. Bricked, shaped mud pies. All right, and this is a lot of soil in here. Maybe ideally you want to get yourself a container. If you're making soil blocks, get yourself a container that you can mix good in. And this container is especially made for mixing cement. It's like a small mini cement mixing container. All right, we're not pushing any brands here or whatever. I went to my local hardware store. To me, the closest one happens to be Home Depot, and just look for a container that's good for mixing in. And this cement mixing container, because it's like rounded at the corners here, where it would be corners, it's rounded right there. So that makes it really good for mixing and shuffling stuff around. So I really like this container, and I've been using this for a few years now, maybe like 3 years now. And this is my favorite container for making soil blocks in, because it's open. I can do my thing. It's kind of wide enough for me to work stuff around. And the corners are not corners. They're rounded. So I really, really, really like this container here. All right, we'll add in a little bit more water and see where we're at. So everything is moist a little bit, but it's just not wet enough to where I want it at. So now we're going to start getting it to where I really want this to be. All right. So we're just working this. Okay. And once you really get a feel for it, you do this, maybe I'll give it maybe 5 times. You go to make like 5 different batches of soil blocks. You start to get a real good feel for how much moisture you really want in your soil blocks without even having to squeeze it out. You just start getting used to it. Like, okay, I know what I'm looking for. I know the consistency I'm looking for. I know what I need. I know what's going to start my seeds, because you need a certain level of moisture to start your seeds. You need a certain level of moisture to form the soil blocks so that it stays together, but you don't want to overdo it so that if it rains, if something happens, they just disintegrate. You don't want that. So it's really, really, really trying to get a nice blend of moisture to soil and whatever you have in your growing medium. So it's just really getting used to it, man, or ladies. All right. And when I first started doing this, I started watching a bunch of videos, and they were helpful to a certain extent. But then it's like I started to develop my own way of doing it, and I think my way is better than all the videos and all the people that I saw doing it. So I tried to improve upon what I saw other people doing. And since I started doing that, I finally happened upon my preferred mixture, my preferred method, and I wouldn't do it any other way. I would really, really, really have to be convinced that somebody came out with an extremely superior way than the way that I've been doing it for years. And I find that extremely difficult, because my soil blocks have worked. They've worked extremely well. They have not been faulty at all. And I've left these outside, so I've gotten these to the point where I don't have to cover them up. You definitely have to keep them moist, but I got to a point where I spray them down with a hose. I'll bring out the hose, I put on the shower method, and just spray them down to keep them moist, make sure they're getting moisture from underneath. and I don't even cover them up anymore because they're so solid. Once they set, so there's like a setting period where it's like I make them, let them set. I look at the forecast, and it's okay. We're not expected for rain for the next 2 to 3 days. I let them set, and then they're good. I don't care if they get rained on. It doesn't matter. My soil blocks don't break down. So I'm really, really liking the way I make my soil blocks. So right here, you see how that moisture squeezes out right there like that? That's what I'm looking for. All right. And there's like a soil block test that people like to do where they say, like, okay, if you could squeeze out your soil blocks, you could squeeze out some moisture, and let's do it. If you can squeeze it out, and you can like flip it from hand to hand, and hopefully it doesn't fall apart. So that's a method. That's one test to see like whether your soil blocks are good or not. It's not 100% foolproof, but it's not a bad test to do it. All right. So if you have to do one or the other, you have to say, okay, I want to err on the side of caution, and that is whether you're going to do a little bit more moisture than you need or a little bit less moisture than you need. It's always better to err on the side of more moisture because you can always squeeze moisture out. If you don't do enough moisture, your soil blocks are going to break down, they're going to crumble, and they're going to fall apart, and you don't want that. That's problematic. So don't err on the side of less moisture. So right now we're on that cusp. We're really at a point where I can squeeze some, but just to be on the safe side, just so you understand what I'm saying, I'll do a little bit more moisture. You saw me squeeze out some moisture out of that soil block. Y'all saw that. But I like to go just a little bit more on the moisture. And guess what? As you start to squeeze out your soil blocks, the moisture that you squeeze out is going to go back directly into the mix that you have. So whatever's left here, you're able to mix that up with the moisture that was squeezed out from the soil blocks before that, and the rest of this moisture starts to get more moisturized. So you really have like a batch that you can continue to add more soil to and not have to add so much moisture in, and you can just mix it in accordingly, like handful here or a little bucket full here. And you can kind of you have to develop the skill of being able to amend your mix and knowing what your mix needs. So once you get started, man, the thing is just to get started, not to really understand fully. This is not super technical. I'm not trying to make it seem like super scientific or any of that, because I didn't start that way, and I still don't do it super scientific. I don't do it in that way. I don't measure. I just pour soil. I have my preferred mix. I love to use coconut coir for my own preferred reasons. I love to use perlite and potting soil. I can use garden soil, but the potting soil has more of the nutrients that it needs. So when your plant is just getting started off, I don't have to add any fertilizer or anything. It has some of the stuff that it needs to just to take off initially when it's in the soil block. So let's get started. All right, and I'm using 2-inch soil blocker here. All right, so it's an 8 soil blocker, 2-inch soil blocks, and we're going to get it going. So really, I like to just work my way down here, and don't cheap out on a soil blocker. If you find a good one that has good reviews, get a good soil blocker. It should outlive you. You take care of it, it should outlive you. And I just work my way down and try to fill any gaps and such. So once I work my way down to the bottom, I like to just twist it, try to get it as flat as I can, and then pull it up. Okay? All right, so look. I pulled it up. What do we got? What do we got here? So we have some gaps, and it's not flush. So my thing is, I want to get it flush, and I want to fill those gaps because we're going to be putting it on trays here. All right, we want those trays to look good. We want those trays to do good. All right, what are you planting in your soil blocks? Everything. Everything but stuff that needs to be direct sown. All right, I even planted onions last year. So I've done romaine lettuce, I've done peppers, tomatoes, kale. I've done everything you could think of. I've done in a soil block. So even stuff that needs to be direct sown. So right now, I'm about to plant some more peppers, some more cabbage, so much stuff, man. Like it's not really not Let me just get this up out of here. All right, now I like to double tap. Okay, so off the release. So right there, just made my first set of 8 soil blocks, and you see it has the divots in there. See those divots? Those divots are for putting your seeds in. All right, and I like to cover my seeds up with seed starting mix. So the same mix that I make my soil blocks with, I don't cover my seeds up with. Why is that? Why is that? All right. That's because when your seeds grow, depending on what you have growing, you want to give your seeds the best possible chance of success. If you put your seeds in the same growing medium, which is like a garden soil or potting soil, if it has wood chips and stuff in there, and the wood chips are covering up your seeds, and you happen to have a nice wood chip, and you're growing something like lettuce that is not real strong, when it starts to germinate, it'll pop up under the soil, and if it can't pass that wood chip, it's just going to die. All right. So seed starting mix that's real thin, and I sift it. So whether I hand sift it or use a sifter, I sift my seed starting mix because there tends to be some little sticks and stuff in there too, and I don't want to hinder my little seeds. So I make my soil blocks here just like you see. So these are amazing soil blocks. I'm going to let them cure outside in the sun and whatnot, and they're going to do amazing like they do every single year. And then I cover I seed them, because you see the little divots. I seed them, and then I cover them with seed starting mix, which is extremely thin and fine. And that's going to allow you to cover them up real good. Not a ton, just enough to cover the seed, really. So just kind of give it like a dusting over the seed, and then give like a little mist of water. Once you drop your seeds in, hit it with the seed starting mix and give a little slight mist. A little slight mist until that absorbs a little bit. Excuse me. All right, so you drop your seed in, hit it with the seed starting mix, and give it a light mist of water. Watch it absorb, because that mix is so dry that it's not going to just absorb. If you start spraying it down with water, start spraying it like in a shower mode, it's not going to absorb. It's going to just kind of bounce or bead right off, and you're going to have a problem. All right, so just mist it first, watch that water absorb, and once it absorbs, then you can give it a little light shower. But when you have a growing medium that's extremely dry, do not spray it down. Do not blast it with water. It's just not going to absorb. All right. So now we're on to our next blocks of 8. All right. Once I'm in a flow, I move a little bit faster. I'm just trying to help you understand and watch what I'm doing. So now, when I drop it down with this type of soil blocker, I double tap. Pull it up once, boom, double tap, and you get a full release. All right. Now I'm going for the next one. Now I like to move a lot faster because time is money. All right. Even it out, make it flush. If there's any gaps that need to be filled, so I'll tap these sometimes, and sometimes there's a little gap, and it's okay. You don't have to be perfect. All right. We're not looking for perfection. We don't need perfection. We just need to get this done efficiently in a way that makes sense. All right. Once I fill those gaps, I'll flatten it out on the bottom and just spin it and like that. Like I'm making snow angels on the bottom of this little container right here. And now it's flattened out and flush. Okay. And this is what I'm looking for. We're looking for it to be flattened out and flush. That's what I'm looking for right there. That's how I like to make my soil blocks, because this is going to be the bottom of your soil blocks. You see how that didn't fall out? Boom, upside down. It didn't fall out. That's what we're looking for. Okay. This is gems. These are gems right here. A lot of people tune in and tune out. It's okay. That's their loss. All right. We're showing extremely good methods on growing. Double tap. 1, 2. Double tap. We dropped. Okay. We got a tray here. 24. We got a beautiful tray of 24 soil blocks, and that's 24 seedlings to start growing right here. A beautiful tray of 24 seedlings. I'm going to go put that in my skeleton of a greenhouse. All right. That's an amazing mix right there. Hit that like and subscribe button. Just showed you right there. All right. That's how you do it. So I'll leave that right there so you can see this is how we're making soil blocks. That's 24 right there. So you don't have to go outside. You don't have to go to stores and buy those little trays, those plugs. A lot of people are out there, like, it's spring. A lot of people are eating up the marketing of buying plugs, buying plant plugs. I'm never buying another set of empty plugs to grow plants in. I learned soil blocks. I learned how to make soil blocks. And granted, it might take a little bit more time, but this is way more economical. This is way better as far as quality. This won't break down. This soil blocker should outlive me. As long, double tap, 1, 2. As long as I take care of my soil blocker, this will last me a lifetime right here. All right, so no, I would never go to the store and buy those plugs. If you're buying plugs, you got to pay attention to what I'm doing. All right, you pay attention to what I'm doing. You're picking down what I'm putting up, or you're picking up what I'm putting down. All right, you won't need those plugs anymore. All right, so now we're making snow angels. Boom, we get to the bottom, we push that down, making snow angels. Boom, 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 boom. We're flat, and now we're flush. All right, so if you're missing, you can push on the bottom. You got any gaps, fill those gaps, hit it down, make your snow angel one more time, and now we're flush. Okay, drop that down, boom. Double tap, 1, 2, beautiful. All right, and that's how we're doing it. No need to play games. No need to play games. All right, I'm about to seed a ton of stuff, and we have so much stuff growing on right now. Everything is flowering. All right, not everything. Most of the fruit trees and shrubs are flowering, but everything is starting to show signs of life. Everything is opening up. Everything is doing beautiful. All right, I'm about to go. Maybe tomorrow. I think tomorrow I might do a video on cloning trees, cloning my fruit trees. All right, so I made some little contraptions there for cloning my fruit trees, and we're gonna clone some of the trees so that we can make babies. We're gonna make our fruit trees have babies. If you're unfamiliar, stay tapped in. Stay tapped in. All right, we're about being economical. We're about doing what makes sense. We're about making sense, and we're about saving time. Okay? Say it again? We're about using less plastic. Okay? So right here, just keeping it moving, making our soil blocks. Just trying to fill in all gaps without having to hand do it, but make our snow angel at the bottom. You get to the bottom, you can feel the bottom when you get to it. Make your snow angel and try to flatten that out at the bottom. All right, we're going to try to make that flush. You do, and then sweep off the sides so we're clean. We're not making a mess. I like to keep it nice and clean looking, because like I said, we're essentially making formed mud pies right now. All right, this is dirt, this is soil. We're essentially making mud pies, but I like my pies to look nice and neat. All right, we don't want anything looking disheveled, nice and clean, and we're being efficient. All right, make our snow angel. All right, if we need to fill any gaps, we'll fill any gaps that I saw, and then bang, go back down for our snow angel again. This is quick work. All right, it's quick work. Double tap, 1, 2, and we drop. If you don't double tap, sometimes you'll have a soil block that kind of stays in there a little bit, and then you might have one crumble, or it just doesn't go as well. Gotta hit the double tap. Double tap. Just like you hit that like button, you want one of these social media platforms, you love hitting that double tap, hit that double tap with your soil blocks too. Put that same energy into your soil blocks, hit that double tap, hit that like button. You know? And right now we're just pushing that soil, we're forcing that soil into that open cavity right there. Pushing it down, All right, and we can't tell where there might be gaps at. So once you hit that first snow angel right there, boom, you check. There's no gaps. There's no cavities. All right, we're good to go. We drop, double tap, boom. 1, 2, drop like clockwork. Okay. We got another beautiful tray of 24 soil blocks. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soil blocks right there. All right. So look at that. That was an easy 72 soil blocks that you got started that you can put wherever you want. And we didn't have to spend any money with making plugs right there. Okay. You didn't have to go out and buy plugs. The industry wants you to keep spending money. I'm not into that. Okay? You don't have to go out there and keep spending money every year because you want to grow your own food. It becomes frustrating for a lot of people. I'm not into being frustrated. I'm into what makes sense, man. What makes sense? They want you to spend money. I don't want to spend money. All right? Are we flush? We're good. We're good here. Swipe off the sides. We're good. Drop it down. Double tap. 1, 2. Bingo. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. Now, what we got? 36 there? 12, 24, 36. Now, we're about to have 48. Okay. Okay. Let's keep it moving. Double tap. Double tap works. That double tap works. And make sure when you seed it, for me, do what you want. My preference is seed starting mix. You do what you want. I don't want to be like I'm trying to tell you you have to do it a certain way. You can do it any way you want, man. But this works for me. I've been doing this for years. I make soil blocks and I do it the way I want to do it. I do it the way that makes sense. It's quick. It's efficient. It holds up any weather. Snow angel. Remember, snow angel. Flatten that off at the bottom. And we're good. Double tap. 1, 2. 1, 2. Bingo. Look at that. Where we at? No, 24, 48. No, 72. Okay. No, that's 96. That's 96 actually. All right. That's 96. So we got close to 100 soil blocks in a few minutes. All right. That's 100 things, close to 96 things you could grow right there in a few minutes. Just drop the seed in. If you feel a certain type of way, you know, if you're one of those people that like to double seed things, I still struggle with that. Put it in the chat. If you struggle with putting more than one seed in something because you want to make the best of what you have, you want to get the most out of what you have, put it in the chat, man, because I struggle with that. I really do. Sometimes I'm like, all right, I got a ton of seeds. I let some of my stuff go to seed, and I just have thousands of seeds, especially like kale. One plant could produce thousands of seeds, and I just don't have the space for thousands of plants of kale. So some of them, I'll like, all right, I'll drop 2 seeds in here. But sometimes I'm like, man, I don't want to waste these seeds. I just spent $5, $6, $8 on this pack of seeds, and they want me, you know, people like to say, oh, throw 2, 3 seeds in there. So you make sure you got something to germinate, and then pull out the ones that aren't looking the strongest. And I struggle with that one. That's one thing I struggle with right there. Wasting seeds, wasting plants, killing off plants. I don't like to do that. So that's one of my things. Like I said, I struggle with right there. Snow angels. Snow angels. All right. Let's finish that off right there. Double tap. Bingo. Bang. Bang. Double tap. Okay. So now what we have here is a wet mixture. This is a mixture that's becoming a little bit too wet, more wet than I want it, because it makes it really hard to squeeze out, and it's more time than it's really worth. So now we're going to start adding in more of this mixture from last year, more of this dry mixture right here, and then we're going to do the same thing that we just did. We're going to rinse and repeat. Okay? All right, so we're going to stack these trays here, add in some of this. We're going to take out our markers that we were marking what stuff is. Always mark what you have growing, because you're likely to forget. If you're growing a bunch of stuff like I do, you're going to forget some of the stuff. You might remember some, but some of the stuff you're going to forget where you planted, where, or even just where you started and where you stopped. So do yourself that favor and just mark stuff so you don't have the possibility of not knowing what something is or where something is. Okay? We're clearing off these cafeteria trays and we're busting down these old soil blocks from last year. You might ask yourself, okay, why doesn't he just seed the ones from last year? Some of them are not fully some of them have not fully held up, and some of them have already been covered. All right, the seed starting mixer is already covering that divot that I want to put my seed in, and I want that divot. I want a fresh soil block for this year. I don't want anything that's been potentially broken down by snow, rain, or so on and so forth. But you can tell these soil blocks have sat outside all year. Look at them. Sat outside all year and they're still together. Look at my soil blocks. Held up real good. Look at them. I can separate them and they're still holding up. These have not been covered. They've been outside all winter. Look at this right here. I'm going to split it apart. Look at them. Beautiful. Still good 2-inch soil blocks. They're beautiful. My soil blocks hold up. This good mixture, beautiful mixture. Hit that like and subscribe button. All right, we're talking good stuff right here. Even if you don't even know it, you might not know it. You know, chances are, if you're tuning in, you might not know what you're looking at. All right, why soil blocks? They're cost efficient. All right, over time, they're time efficient. They make the most sense. You get the biggest bang for your buck. Your tools, you buy a good tool, your tool will last you, and you don't have to keep wasting plastic, buying stuff every year, feeding into the industry of selling garden stuff to new gardeners. You know, if I can help you skip a step and not be victim for however many years, and then eventually you'll get dissuaded because you're like, oh, I'm tired of buying plug trays. I'm tired of doing this. I'm tired of doing that. I'm tired of doing it. All right, it doesn't have to be that difficult. All right, it doesn't. All right, let's slap in a few more. I don't want to overdo the amount of mix here, but we definitely have to have enough because I run through it pretty quickly. All right, but I just don't want y'all to keep being victim out there to the industry of selling garden equipment. All right, they're gonna keep trying to sell you on, nah, you gotta keep buying plug trays, you gotta keep buying this, keep buying that, buy this nutrient, buy that nutrient. All right, I stopped buying a lot of that stuff years ago. Okay, I'm into composting. A lot of my nutrients come from composting. All right, when I cook outside, I cook outside with burning wood logs. If y'all can see it behind me, burning wood logs. I throw the ashes in my compost. Throw the ashes in the soil. Give back to the soil. Give back to Mother Nature, and Mother Nature gives back to you. So I can't even make up. Like this has really made the biggest difference in growing for me. You know, once I started understanding soil health, man, that was the game changer for me. I went from growing in pots, growing in grow bags, to growing in the ground and having a healthy, beautiful food forest. If y'all want to see, put it in the chat. I'll show y'all. I didn't do a walkthrough. I didn't show anybody what's going on. But if you want to see what's going on, put it in the comments. All I need is one person. I'm gassed up easily. All I need is one person to let me know. Let me see what you got growing on, and I'll show you. It's no big deal. I need to get some more water too. All right, because I didn't want to bring my hose over here and do too much, because I'm gonna have to keep going back, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on. Okay, if anybody wants to see, I'll show y'all. Okay, I'm gonna go get some more water real fast, fill up my bucket here. But if y'all want to see, I'll show y'all fruit trees, shrubs, grapes, raspberries, blueberries. Now, a lot of our trees, they're not like 15 years in, but we got plenty of trees that are going to fruit this year. All right, we got apple trees that are flowering right now. We got some cherry trees that are finished flowering right now. What else we got back here? The grapes are coming to life. We got oh, seedless, no, thornless blackberries, raspberries, currants. What's in the backyard? Blueberries, figs, pears, plums. What else? Cherries. There's so much growing on. We got strawberries back here. We got cabbage growing on. We got so much kale growing on. There's just so much growing on. Yeah, just tap in. We're about becoming more sustainable. Getting to it. All right. And we're on some like each one teach one. Because I didn't know it all. I didn't go to college for horticulture, botany, any of that stuff. I learned from just getting started, you know, putting some soil in a pot, putting a seed in, and getting to it. That's how I learned. Okay? All right, so we're going to put some more water in. We need some more water there. Definitely needed some more water. All right, we just start working that water in. Okay? We're getting there. We're definitely going to need some more water. Breaking up these soil blocks here. And like I said, this is rejuvenating and reusing soil blocks from last year. So inevitably, you're doing soil blocks. You might have ones that just don't do what they're supposed to do. Some of the stuff didn't do what it's supposed to do. Like some of the seeds might have been duds, or I started them too late and I just didn't get them in the ground. So sometimes that happens, and I have leftover soil blocks. So that's what you see here. But the point is, we're not wasting that. That's not going in the trash. And at the very least, I would just throw the soil blocks into the compost. But it's better for me to just make new soil blocks because I'm going to be doing that anyways. I make soil blocks every year, growing our vegetables. So my wife and I, we sort of have like a program going on. All right. So I don't mind making the soil blocks. She really doesn't want to make the soil blocks. Okay. All right. She'd rather seed the soil blocks. I'd rather not seed the soil blocks. So what we do is I come out here, make my mixture, make my batch of soil blocks here. I do my thing tonight, and then tomorrow morning, I let them sit outside, cure. We're not supposed to get any rain tonight. Let this stuff sit outside and cure, and in the morning she'll come outside, seed the soil blocks, and we kind of work in that way, like a tandem motion of productivity. Okay, so we're looking good. We're just mixing that up in here. All right. A lot of that stuff, some of these soil blocks still need to be broken down. So some of that moisture is just going to really get absorbed when some of these soil blocks get broken down in there, and just suck it up, drink up all this moisture. All that dryness is going to drink up all that moisture there. And just keep mixing. Just keep mixing. And if you weren't here when I said it before, if you have to err on a side of caution, it's better to have more moisture than you need than less moisture than you need with soil blocks, because you can always squeeze moisture out. All right, this is maybe counterproductive to some of the other wisdom out there. It's better to not put so much, and you can always add more salt or something like that. But with this right here, with the soil blocks, you can always squeeze moisture out if you need to. All right. But if you start making soil blocks and they don't have enough moisture in them, and you put them on a tray and they start drying out, they're likely to crumble. If they don't have enough moisture, they're likely to crumble. So for me, I have my preferred mix. As long as my mix is good, I have everything the way I want it. All right, and I fill everything out. Okay, as long as my mix is good, and when our soil blocks start to cure, my soil blocks don't fall apart. Like I said, little while ago, these have been sitting outside for months. They overwintered. These have been outside since fall, the whole winter into now, into like spring. We're in spring right now. So these soil blocks, if I left them outside, they would sit out here until next spring. But there's no point to that because we need to make fresh soil blocks for what we're about to put in the ground now. Okay, and you see some of what we have growing on here. Okay, just showing you a basic method. If you don't know soil blocks, learn soil blocks. Please, please, please learn soil blocks. If you're growing your own food and you're not on like a mass production scale where you're like using tractors and needing to do things and hire people to do things. If you're doing it yourself, you're working in like a front yard, backyard, a small area, even a not so small area. Soil blocks are amazing. They have bigger soil blockers if you're trying to do it on like a big scale, which that will be me. We have a nice sized property here. I'm one man, and this is not my full-time job right here. So I come home and I get to it. All right, let me just check the moisture level here. All right, we're good on the moisture level. But yeah, I'm going to start expanding, making more enclosures in the backyard and start growing more food. Although the space that I have to grow in is more than enough for my family. All right, so I have more than enough space to grow enough food for my family for a year. All right, so I want to expand, do more. I'm more ambitious than the space that I'm growing in right now. So we can actually take some more off of here. All right, so I want this a little bit more wet. A little bit more wet. Why is that? So sometimes if it's a little bit dry, it might keep on some of the stuff that you don't want there. And I just want it wet enough to where if I go to start making my snow angel, and this is what I call it. It's not a common term. I call it snow angel because you put it down and it's like you're making a spread right here, and it looks like a snow angel in there. Like if you were to lay down when it's snowing outside, looks like a snow angel. Okay. All right. Double tap. 1, 2. Bingo. Look at that. And just like the rest, we're beautiful. We're beautiful right here. Another batch of mud pies or soil blocks, whatever you want to call them. They're both actually. So move that to the side and we're on to the next batch. And I'm going to put this stuff out because my wife is going to seed this stuff in the morning. All right. I didn't talk to her about it, but I'm going to tell her. Wife. All right. You know those seeds we got in the house? The ones I've been talking about? Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm just saying. Can't tell her. You gotta suggest. Hey, wife, what happened to those seeds? I just made a bunch of soil blocks. What happened to those seeds? I was just wondering what happened to those seeds. I was going to do it, but she's like, all right, because I'm going to work in the morning. I was just wondering. I didn't find those seeds. I was just wondering, since you're going to be home, and then I don't finish my sentence. Just kind of imply. Just imply a little bit. JK. All right. This is good enough to drop down. Let's hit it. Double tap. All right. Good batch. Not bad. But keep it moving. All right. When we got that little bit of moisture that comes off of when we squeeze it out, just mix it in. Don't let it puddle. Because you let it puddle, then it starts to become a sloppy mess. All right. And this could actually use just a slightly more little bit of moisture, the whole little bit. Okay. All right. Y'all saw that. It might not have seemed like a slight bit, but in the grand scheme of things, all that moisture being mixed around this whole bucket is exactly what I want and is exactly what I need. Because right now, I'm not feeling 100% in what I'm doing. Like, it's making the soil blocks, but I know the consistency that I'm looking for. I know what I need. I just like a little bit more of a wet mixture. A slightly more wet mixture to get those soil blocks that, like I said, will overwinter, will go spray, summer, fall, through any season, and still drop them and they'll stay together. I can juggle these. Boom, 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 boom. I can do what I want with them. They're not going to fall apart. All right, to make those type of soil blocks, yeah, I love the consistency. I'm looking for a perfect consistency in my soil blocks. So although I'm not a scientist, I'm extremely particular with my consistency and what I want to make the perfect soil blocks that I know is going to really weather the storm, literally. Okay? All right, we're good. This is good. It feels real good, and I feel good about my mixture now. All right? This is a good mixture right here. Perfect. Just what I'm looking for. I know what I'm looking for. This is perfect. Okay? I'll fill in any gaps and make my snow angel right at the bottom. Boom. Make my snow angel. Okay? And then we flatten that down. Double tap. Bingo. Okay? And we're going in. Whatever little mixture I just squeezed off, let's kind of give a little light little mix. Now look at this. And we're hundreds of soil blocks in right now. All right? We're over 100. Easy. We're over 100 easy. Now imagine how much would you have spent for, 100 of the plugs? How much are you spending on a few hundred plugs? And you're spending those, and they're going to bust up. They're going to break up. You're going to have to throw them away. Now you're getting rid of plastic, paying to get rid of it. It's frustrating you. And right here, I'm not paying a single dime. I had to pay more initially to pay for the soil blocker and to pay for these lunch trays, these cafeteria trays. But after that, I'm not spending no more money. This pays for itself right here with what I'm able to get and the beauty of all those seedlings. When you see all those seedlings growing out of this stuff, all right, the feeling that it's going to give you is like, oh my God, I did that. I'm doing so good. You're going to feel, you're going to pat yourself on the back. You're going to give yourself an attaboy, an attagirl. Watch. Get involved. Get involved. I'm telling you, get involved. If you're not involved with soil blocks, get involved. If you're growing your own food, if you want to grow your own food, get involved. All right. I got my little soil blocker. This one right here, this one was actually maybe like 30 bucks. I'm not going to sit here and act like I spent a ton of money. I have a soil blocker here that costs almost 300 bucks. Maybe a little bit over. After shipping and tax, that Swift blocker might have cost just over 300 bucks. This one right here costs 30 bucks, and it's my favorite one. My favorite one right here. This does the job perfect. It does what I needed to do, and then some. Let me make my snow angel. Okay, we're good. Double tap. Okay, nice. And just mix up that moisture, because that moisture needs to be evenly distributed, or else you're going to make a puddle and a sloppy mess. All right, just mix in that moisture so it evenly distributes. And then you could slowly, if you wanted to, you could slowly start adding in soil blocks to absorb some of that moisture that you're mixing in. All right, you could do that. But when you know how to really, feel your mixture and know the mixture that you're looking for, like, okay, I want my consistency to feel like this, and you know the difference. And when it starts to adjust and change, we start to add a little bit of moisture, and you can understand, okay, it's starting to change, not feeling the same. It's not releasing the same from my soil blocker. I'm like, okay, I know what I need to do. I need more of the soil. I know I need to balance it back out. Okay? So we just need to top off this right here. We had a few spots that need to be topped off, and then we're gonna make our snow angel. And like I said, it's not a prevalent term, it's just what I call it, making snow angels, where I flatten it out at the bottom and make it flush. Okay, like I said, when I make it flush at the bottom, like flat like that, make it flush so it stays on our tray there. Okay, and we drop it down, double tap. Bingo, look at that. and we're good. We're good. We got a lot of soil blocks right now. All right. Let me start stacking these up because we're running out of space now. We run out of space for our soil blocks. Okay. Let's get another empty tray here. Is anybody familiar with soil blocks? Do y'all make soil blocks? I don't see anybody comment. It's all good. Okay, that's what we're doing. Filling in any gaps, just making sure, and then I make my final snow angel right there. Flatten it out, make it flush, drop it down, perfect. Double tap, bingo. Okay, let me make sure your view is good. Make sure y'all can see that. Okay. Make sure y'all can see everything I'm doing. All right, so we got plenty of soil blocks right there. You should be able to see it. Okay. And we still got more to do. When it starts getting a little bit more moist, I can start adding in a few more soil blocks, a few more of this of our growing medium, whatever it is. Like for me, I'm using old soil blocks, so I can kind of balance out some of that moisture with some of this new stuff, so that I could just keep the ball rolling. So now we're adding more, and we're not running out as fast, and we're absorbing some of that moisture. Okay. So we're keeping this perfectly balanced. Those two little soil blocks that I just added in, it just balanced out all that moisture that I've been squeezing out. So that was beautiful. And that's kind of how I like to just play things. All right, and just keeping my mixture perfectly balanced. When I need moisture, I add in water. When I need some more soil, I add it in. Just adding what I need and adjusting on the fly. Double tap, dropping down. Okay, another batch. Ready to go. Just filling in those cavities and this soil blocker. Okay. And this is not a super interesting looking process right here. This doesn't look like the most interesting. It's very tedious looking actually, but this is extremely productive. It may not look like the coolest thing. This is not the coolest looking thing, but this is extremely effective and productive. Okay, we got another batch right here. All right, let's keep it moving. We need another empty tray. In fact, we're gonna move this to the side. I'm gonna put an empty tray right here. And look how much soil blocks we have already. Look how many we have already. It's hard to argue it. This is a bad method to grow your vegetables. Each one is 24. How many trays we got so far? 1, 2, 6, 7, 8. We got 8 trays so far. 8 trays done, and a lot more to go. Let's make our snow angel and see how we're looking. Oh, beautiful, perfect. Double tap. Okay, and we keep it moving. It's our 9th tray right now. One of these are. Oh, this broke one of my soil blocks. This tray fell and broke one of my soil blocks. So I'm such a perfectionist because this one tray fell and broke one of my soil blocks. I'm so much of a perfectionist. I'll start this whole batch of soil blocks over, man. I want my stuff looking pristine. Yeah. I gotta get this stuff off my stuff right here because we can't be having that. I like my stuff looking nice, like my stuff looking pristine. No funny business, no mess ups. All right, I need my stuff looking good. Looking good. We're gonna do that one over. I need my stuff looking top notch because that's what it is. Top notch soil blocks. This is not the subpar business right here. I don't do lesser than. I don't do good enough. Double tap, bingo. Mud pies. Elite mud pies though. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be growing good food in these. I want them to do good, but also want them to look good. Okay? If we can affect that, then I'm going to affect it. If we can't, then it is what it is. But as long as I can affect it, I'm going to. Double tap. Bingo. Look at that. We placed it like clockwork. Okay? Now we're getting a little bit more moisture, so we're going to drop a couple more soil blocks in here and crush that up. So we got a couple more soil blocks, and we're going to suck up some of that moisture right there with some of this dryness from these soil blocks right here. And we're going to balance this mix out right here. Watch that. Okay. Hey. Nice. We just soaked up a lot of that moisture. Let's mix it in real good. It just soaked up that moisture and balanced that out real quick. Those 3 soil blocks just balanced this out. And now it feels like a perfect mixture again. It's just all about keeping your mixture balanced and maintaining consistency. Because it's easy to just let your mixture continue to become waterlogged, but the quality of your soil blocks is definitely and inevitably going to go down. As it becomes more moisture logged, it becomes harder to squeeze out that moisture, and just the quality is going to go down. The way that they stay together is going to go down. So to keep that perfect consistency, you want to keep that mixture balanced. All right? And I'm talking from a position of no, all right? Because I've been doing this for years. As in no, I mean as in I know what I'm talking about. That position. Not no as in don't. No as in I know what I'm talking about, because my soil blocks have weathered the storm for many years. All right? I've done a lot of testing, experimenting, not as a scientist, but testing as in the layman. Messing up, something not working, going back to the drawing board. Okay, drop it down. All right, we need some more soil block in here to suck up that moisture. Okay, so let's get some more stuff in here to suck up some of this moisture. Maybe about one more. We don't want to go too hard. Mix this in real good and see what this does. All right. Still feels like a lot of moisture. Might need to add in a little bit more. Yeah, let's put the rest of this in here. This should be okay. It's not too much, not too crazy. Let's bust this down. Okay. Nice. It's feeling a lot better. It's feeling a lot better. All right. It feels like we're back. We're a lot back closer to where that consistency that I'm looking for in my soil blocks. Okay. That perfect consistency where I can squeeze out moisture, and this mixture can absorb that moisture and be mixed around. Okay. We're back. We're back. A couple more trays here. And I could grow damn near anything in these soil blocks. We're rocking with 2-inch soil blocks. So if let's say you wanted to get 1 soil blocker, and you want to know, like, okay, what size should I get? If I don't want to buy a bunch of different sizes, I'm not trying to go too crazy, I just want to get into the world of soil blocking, what size soil blocker would I recommend? I would recommend a 2-inch soil blocker. Because a 2-inch soil blocker, you could technically grow stuff that maybe should be direct sown. So like if you wanted to get a start on a cantaloupe, you want to get a start on watermelon, you want to get a start on some type of butternut squash or some type of, spaghetti squash, whatever it is, you could technically get started in these 2-inch soil blockers. Now, stuff like that, cucumber, stuff like that is going to quickly outgrow these 2-inch soil blockers, but you can definitely get started in them, and these will transplant a lot better than if you were to use plugs. And that's for a couple different reasons. All right. If y'all ask, then maybe I'll explain, but I don't want to keep running my mouth and nobody wants to hear about it. But if you had to pick a size soil blocker that you were to buy and you want to get introduced to the world of soil blocking, all right, I would go with a 2-inch. So the stuff that's smaller, like lettuce, some of the seeds that may not necessarily need as big of a soil blocker, you can still put in a 2-inch soil blocker. Okay, but if you were to go with like a 1-inch soil blocker, some of the stuff like that I named, the cucumbers, like peppers, and some of that type of stuff, tomatoes, some of the stuff medium size starts, they're just not going to go. They're not going to do well. They're not going to last long in a 1-inch soil blocker. They may, if you can even fit the seed in there, they may sprout, and then they're going to outgrow it within a day or so. So not good. A 2-inch soil blocker is a good one to get stuff started, whether it's something small, something big, it doesn't matter. I've started lettuce, romaine lettuce, kale, onions, peppers, tomatoes, like you name it. I done started everything in these soil block, cabbage, turnips, beets, radishes. I've done started everything in these 2-inch soil blockers, and they've done amazing. So I can't complain about this at all, and they held up good for everything. So if I had to and I have soil blockers that are bigger than this, and I have soil blockers that are smaller than this. But if I had to give a recommendation, somebody just getting into the world of soil blocking, I would go with a 2-inch soil blocker, and then adjust from there. See where you would go from there. Okay, because that'll give you a good feel for what these can do. All right, pick you a good one. Pick you one with predominantly all metal components. This one is all pretty much metal components. All right, only thing that's not a metal component is just the rubber casing on this handle right here, this part right here. There's a little bit of rubber on the outside of the metal and a little bit of rubber on the outside of this piece right here where you put your hands at, just to make for a more pleasurable experience. But other than that, everything on this is metal. We're not dealing with any plastic. So you pick you a good soil blocker that doesn't have trash components on it, and it should outlive you. That's my recommendation. That's my advice. All right, unsolicited advice, but still good advice. Okay, I didn't have people telling me that. My first soil blocker was a trash plastic soil blocker, and I still have it, but I just never use it. It was a waste of money. That garden industry that I'm talking about, that just wants to sell you stuff every year, to sustain what they do, they got to keep trying to sell you stuff, market you stuff that you don't need, and sell it to you like you need it. Your garden needs this and this nutrient. It's not going to be so good if you don't do this, and try to sell you on fear. If you want your garden to succeed, if you want it to have the nutrients to actually grow, you're going to need these ingredients. Like, okay, relax for a minute, take a deep breath. All right, let's go with the flow of the natural order of things. Start with like say you're ordering vegetables, or you're buying vegetables from the grocery store. You eat your vegetables, you eat your fruit. What's the stuff that you don't eat out of that? Let's start with just putting your biodegradable food scraps back in your garden. Whether you're composting and you have a compost pile, or you're putting stuff directly back in the soil. Either way, you're giving back to the soil. Let's start there. And what does that produce? What results does that yield? Let's start there before we start just buying into what somebody's just trying to sell you because they want sales, because they want money. All right? We need to just stop for a second. Stop just being consumers because that's what's expected of us, and just take a second to understand, or just try to ask questions like, why do I need that? Why am I being sold this? Do I actually need it? Putting a little bit of effort and do a little bit of Google research or whatever the case may be. YouTube it. I mean, it's the same company, but just do some research. Do some basic research and see what your results might be. You know, put in a little effort. Give back to your soil a little bit. I didn't know not a single thing about soil health when I started growing food. Not a single thing. I didn't know anything about growing food, man. I know going to the grocery store and buying food. That's all I knew. I don't know anything about, man. I left the growing food to the farmers, man. Growing food to the people that know what they're doing, because I wasn't one of them. But along this journey, man, I failed a lot. But like they say, man, if you're going to fail, it's better to fail up, and it's better to fail fast. And that's what I did. I failed up, I failed fast, I didn't quit, and I kept it moving. And yeah, no, we are better off for it. Better off for it. Snow angel time. Shave off the excess and drop it down. Look at that. We're looking beautiful now. Where we at? We got a lot of stuff growing on here. We got a lot of stuff. Okay. I can't see anybody's comments. I don't know if anybody's commented, but we get ready to end this live. But we're looking beautiful. Look at this. So we got a lot of soil blocks growing on. I made a bunch on live for you. Okay. You see what's growing on. I had my soil, but I didn't even get through the rest of the soil blocks from last year. So yeah, I'm going to finish getting through the rest of them. I'm going to move these around. I still have more trays to get through here. Still got more trays to get through there. I still have more trays to get through right there. So we have a lot more trays to get through. And like I said, when I burn those logs, nutrients, we compost. All right. Every one of these trays has 24 soil blocks on it, and we get busy. Okay. Let's take a walk real fast. 2 seconds. Okay. Let's take a walk over here. We have our backyard food forest. Hit that like and subscribe button if you're in here. All right. We got our backyard food forest. We got plenty of trees. All right. We got stuff that's flowering. What we got right there? Golden delicious apple. Okay. We got some flowers that just finished flowering, as you can see. Golden delicious apple. Okay. What we got over there? That looks like a plum. That's an ace plum. A red ace plum. What we got over here? We got cherry tree right here. Our cherry tree just finished flowering. You can see all those flowers starting to die off right there. Look at those flowers. Just starting to flower. Flowers mean fruit. Flowers mean fruit, y'all. Okay. We got a pawpaw tree right here. Little baby pawpaw. What we got? Blueberry bush. We got another cherry tree. Okay. And we just taking a walk down this side. Apples. We got apple right there in the middle right there. What else we got? We got grape over here. We got a grapevine right there. We have a thornless blackberry right there. And some onion. You see my thornless blackberry right next to some onion right there. Okay? Right next to some strawberries right there. And we got stuff growing on. We got apple tree right here. Everything's not in its full maturity yet, but we got plenty of stuff growing on. We got apple tree right there. It might be hard to tell. We got flowers on it. You see the flowers right there? Apple tree right there, red delicious. But yeah, we got stuff growing on, and I got a front yard food for us. And look at this right here. Y'all see all them? Y'all see them growing right there? Those are all kale. Those are all curl blue vates. Those are all kales right there. Plenty of kales. This is our kale section. Okay? Plenty of kale growing on. And then we got blueberry right next to it. So we got kale and blueberry right there. Going good. All right? But that's, you know, that's just a little, just showing you a little bit, man. Just showing you a little bit. What's over here? I think this is another plum tree right here. It's another plum tree. Okay? And then what we have? This is a pear tree. It's a sickle pear. Right? Sickle pear tree. Yep. Sickle pear tree. Okay? We got a pear tree right here. And these are currants. Anybody familiar with currants? Let me know. Put it in the chat. Are you familiar with currants? It's a currant shrub. And that's a currant shrub right next to some cabbage right there that's getting ready to go to seed. You see it starting to flower right there. We're going to collect seeds. And we collect seeds here. Collect seeds, replant them in the fall, because things go to seed when they're not in season and when they're just at the end of their life. So I love collecting seeds because we get 10 times more, or maybe even more, at least 10 times more than what we actually planted. Some more raspberry, grapevines, blueberries. And look, our raspberry section is expanding. So yeah, now we're doing good. Raspberry, I planted like 2 raspberry bushes, and they just keep expanding and expanding and expanding. We definitely have to maintain the shrubs, because the shrubs will just keep growing and growing and growing and expanding. These brambles, gotta watch the brambles. All right, the blueberries, not so much. They'll spread a little bit here and there, but the brambles, like these raspberries right here, you gotta watch them. You know, there's no thorns on them, but you definitely gotta watch them because they'll start to take over certain areas. So we're gonna keep an eye out for these right here. But yeah, now we're doing good, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I'll see you on the next one. Terrence here, Rue Healthy Plants. Put it in the comment section if you got any questions. That was a good video on soil blocks. I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.